Oh, and we are live. With any luck, we're live and direct, Steve.
I see you, Podfeet. You look live. Although you're a little bit yellow.
Well, that's weird because I do not have, I didn't change my monitor to yellow.
It's changing all the time.
All right. It's an exciting thing. All right. It is time for roll call. Oh, you know what might be causing this? Let me do this. There. All right. It is time for roll call. We have Steve and Brett and possibly Jino Choi and Joe LaGreca and Dorothy, John, Rose, and Sandy.
Although I haven't heard anything from Joe or Jinho Choi.
You think they're fakers?
Well, tonight maybe. Well, they have to speak up if they want their presence known.
So are you guys going to help me remember chapters again this week?
Oh, were we supposed to do that?
Can I do that over here?
George just made it in the nick of time.
Who made it in?
George.
George did not. I called roll call a minute ago.
Yeah, he got in right after that.
All right. Yeah, so I'm going to be talking about chapters. They did not work last week, just as I suspected. We are going to do another experiment and see if I can get them to stick, and you will hear how I'm going to do that. But that means you guys need to remind me yet again.
So this is at the end of every segment.
Yeah.
A pause.
Yeah. I don't think, so I'm going to do, I have 3 follow-ups. I don't know if I could stop and we could do chapters on those just to test it out.
Okay.
I mean, because I do Chit Chat Across the Pond, then I'm going to do a follow-up on chapters. I'm going to do a follow-up on reader view, the secret follow-up for Sandy, and then 2 blog posts, and then security bits.
Hey, if you're going to do chapters, go all in. Just put them all over.
Just chapter every 3 seconds.
Every paragraph.
We could do that. All right. I want footnotes, no simple chapters, George says.
Oh, maybe we should repeat what Sandy's plans are so we can get.
Oh, I thought she was going to post it in there.
Okay.
About the her phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. If you want me to do a sound check, I can. I did one by myself, but I'm pretty sure it worked. Let's try it. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, a technology geek podcast in Southern California. And I'm drinking water. So let's hit playback here. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, a technology geek podcast. There we go.
I think I heard that.
Wingman's here.
He made it. Hello, Kevin. Glad you're here.
Okay. NC up. What was that?
That's a little
little burp there, Steve, from your beers.
Little on-air burp.
Steven. All right. So we're gonna do chapters. I don't remember.
I bet Kevin could help here.
Yeah, I don't remember how I did chapters. There's a keystroke. I didn't do it with that. I did. Okay, so it's Option Command H. Chapters is an H. Chapters. All right. Should we give this? Should we start the show off?
Let's hit it.
I don't think we have any good excuses not to just start. Okay, here we go. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Apple bias. Today is Sunday, November 26, 2017, and this is show number 655. Well, this week's episode of Chit Chat Across the Pond is Programming by Stealth, episode number... It's not 44.
511.
How did I get 44? Shall we try that again? Let's start that over. Okay, it's going to be a sausage grinder. I can tell. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Apple bias. Today is Sunday, November 26, 2017, and this is show number 655. Well, this week's episode of Chit Chat Across the Pond is Programming by Stealth, episode number 511. In this installment, Bart teaches us new ways to deal with arguments and objects. Oh, I know what's going on. It was episode 44. That was correct because it's Programming by Stealth 44.
So okay. So you have you have two numbering schemes. You've got PBS 44 and Chit Chat 511.
Yeah, but I said
it's going by
Programming by Stealth.
I thought I heard Chit Chat Across the Pond.
What's Chit Chat Across? Never mind. I'll put number 44 of X. That way I'll remember that it's the right thing. Okay, take three. Take three, everybody. Take three. Places. There we go. Hi. Yes, Steve?
Quiet on the set, I was going to say. All right, I'm muting.
I'm drinking water, just so you know. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast Take 5. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Apple bias. Today is Sunday, November 26, 2017, and this is show number 655. Well, this week's episode of Chit Chat Across the Pond is another episode of Programming by Stealth. It's number 44 of X. In this installment, Bart teaches us new ways to deal with arguments and objects using JavaScript ES6. We're all done with those old ways of doing it. We're on to the new cool stuff. We learned how to set default argument values for functions in a way that is self-documenting, which is pretty cool. He also explains how variadic, or also known as rest arguments, allow you to shove all of the arguments of a function into an array. Then he walks us through how to use for in loops to loop over objects. He reminds us of the differences between instance and static properties and explains how for in loops work with both kinds of properties. I really enjoyed this episode, and I followed almost all of it the first time through. You can find this episode in your podcatcher of choice by searching Chit Chat Across the Pond or Programming by Stealth. Should have been searching for, but we aren't going to do it. Number 6.
Chapter marker.
Thank you.
So is that 4 or 5 in loops?
I just noticed something. My text expander snippet that I start every episode with still says NosillaCast at Mac Podcast.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, what is it? I think it's intro I typed to get that. And that's had to have been that way for quite some time. And that word is only in there as it's a, I don't know, search engine optimization or something stupid. All right. Okay, so you want a chapter marker? What should we call it? Oh, Command-Shift-Enter. It says it right there. Okay, so we're going to create one, and we're going to call this Follow-Up on Chapters. All right, here we go. Am I missing anything fun? Index? That's what George is going to yell as index. You know I'm going to look for index now. All right. Last week, I talked about Joe LaGreca's request for chapter markers in the podcast. As you might recall, I whined quite a bit at how hard it would be, and then I confessed that the recording tool I use, Hindenburg Journalist, has a very easy way of adding chapters, and that it was also true that my workflow during the live show includes stopping recording every time I change topic, so it was pretty easy to add chapters. I pretty much run out of excuses. Last week, I did put in chapters during the live show. The live chat room had a bit of fun with it too, yelling chapters every time I stopped. They love doing stuff like that. It's very interactive for them, especially Steve. He seems to really like it. Anyway, I warned last week that I had reason to believe that Auphonic Leveler on the desktop, the application I run after I record the show, I was worried that it would strip out my carefully crafted chapters. I also said I wouldn't know until after. Okay, I can't leave crafted in there. It's going to be a long show. I don't have that much content. It's going to take forever if I do everything 6 times.
You got to read it all too.
Mm-hmm.
None of this is posts.
Well, no, but it is not much. It's okay. Patronizing us? She's patronizing us.
Well,
yes.
Come on.
Mostly you, Steve.
Gives us something to do. Huh?
Patreoning. All right. Last week, I talked about Joe LaCroix. Seriously? Try that again. Last week, I talked about Joe LaCroix. Okay, you know what, Steve? You should go get me a beer. Apparently, wine is not working.
I can bring one right away.
That's the problem.
Water isn't working, you mean?
Yeah, water isn't working. What did I say?
Wine.
I might as well throw in the towel. This is going to take all night. Okay, here we go. There we go. Last week, I talked about Joe LaGreca's request for chapter markers in the podcast. I whined quite a bit at how hard it was going to be. And then I confessed that the recording tool I use, Hindenburg Journalist, has a very easy way of adding chapters. And also that my workflow during the live show includes stopping recording every time I change topic. So I'd pretty much run out of excuses. Last week, I did put in chapters during the live show, and I told you I was doing that. The live chat room did have a bit of fun with it, too. They like yelling, chapters, every time I stop the recording. It's very interactive for them, and I got to tell you, Steve enjoyed it more than almost anybody. Well, I warned that I had reason to believe that a tool I use called Auphonic Leveler on the desktop would strip out my carefully crafted chapters that I put in during the recording. I also said I wouldn't know until after the show was completely produced whether or not there were chapters. As you may have figured out, if you went looking for them, there were no chapters in the final file. Turns out there is a way to solve this problem, and that's by me abandoning the desktop version of Auphonic Leveler and going with a subscription-based web tool from Auphonic. It will do more than just preserve the chapters, from what I understand. It adds ID3 information, and it can even do the FTP job for me. So this was kind of something I was interested in anyway. The problem is I was bummed because I didn't do it this way in the first place. I spent $100 on the Auphonic desktop app, and now I'm going to have to pay $11 per month for the subscription service. It's not a big deal, you know, if you guys really appreciate the chapters. I'm just bummed I wasted the money on the desktop app. Anyway, I'm betting that more people than just Joe want this, so we're going to go ahead and do it. Here's the only rub. I'm not sure I know how to use it yet. I've set it up, and it might work. This week, we'll find out. It's going to be another one of those surprises for all of us, and we'll find out if it works when you guys listen to the final show. All right. Steve?
Index chapter marker.
Index chapter.
Which one do you want, index or chapter marker?
I don't know.
Well, Kevin's got it.
What was it? Command Shift Enter? Nope. H? Oh, come on. It told me what the first one was. What was it? I thought it was Command Shift Enter. No, Command Option Shift Enter. Option Shift Enter. What is it?
Snoring going on over here.
Well, let me get it from here.
Tesla.
There it is.
Oh boy.
Okay. Well, gonna have to. I throw things at her.
Oh. Small things, right?
Yeah, socks and such. Actually, I have a bunch of things on my desk. I've thrown this at her. I thought about throwing my my Mars rover, but I didn't want to break it, so I didn't throw that. Oh, I've got a bunch of these little boxes here that you keep SIM cards in. I throw those at her. I've been known to throw a thumb drive at her.
Allison.
I need to clean my desk up. That's what it really tells you. All right. Oh, no, don't forget the chapter marker or index for George Podfeed. What? No. Oh, gosh, he's added the whole thing to it. How come you always say it twice, Kevin? I've always wondered about that. Dogs don't snore. They sleep loudly. Alice, it's time for you to either enter either a chapter marker or index. Your choice at this time. Another text expander snippet. All right. I'm not looking forward to the final show. Grammar Police. I didn't say finalized show. Oh, man. All right. We'll go. Here we go. I got a couple of follow-up tips about using Reader View on Safari for Mac and for iOS. Mike Price commented on the blog post that I wrote last week that if you like to have your Mac read to you, putting Safari in reader view mode first makes the whole experience that much better. That's a fantastic idea, Mike. I love that. I've tried to use the reading from the Mac and from iOS before, and it was always reading all that glop on the sidebars and such. So that's a great tip. I love it, Mike. Also, Kaylee Dio pointed out that in iOS 11 and High Sierra, you can enable automatic reader view. I totally forgot to mention this part of the tip, so big thanks to Kaylee for reminding me. In Safari on High Sierra, if you right-click on the reader view icon, that's those 4 little horizontal lines, the little icon in the URL bar to the left of the URL. If you right-click on it or use force press on a trackpad, you'll see 2 options. One says use reader view automatically, followed by the name of the site you're on. This would allow you to, for specific sites, enable reader view. The second option under reader view icon, it says reader website preferences. If you select that option, it opens Safari preferences to the websites tab with reader selected in the left sidebar. In the main window, you'll see the sites you have previously configured to have reader view on or off by default. At the bottom of the window is a pull down, and that allows you to set all sites to be on or off. Now, this granularity allows you to turn reader view on for all sites except the ones listed specifically to have reader view turned off. If you're as big a fan of reader view as I am, you'll really, really like this option. On iOS, press and hold on the reader view icon in Safari, and you'll get the same 2 choices to change the current website to reader view or to change all websites. Near as I could find, though, there's no further granularity available for reader view in iOS. I did check in settings, and as you'll hear in a few minutes, I know settings pretty well by now, and I couldn't find it in there. Anyway, big thanks to Mike and Kaylee for these follow-up tips, I should say, on reader view.
Index.
Man, you like going fast. Oh, he does it twice just so I don't miss it, huh? Oh, he's being macabre. George is being macabre.
John says, I'm macabre.
Okay. Should there be I'm macabre? Oh, I got it. Okay, so this is going to be another one. Let's see. It's going to be follow up on. Let's see. I don't want to say the name of it because it'll tip them up. There we go. Okay, here we go. Shh.
Shh. Oh, mute.
It's tough to get good help. Steve's been in a really good mood lately. It's very silly. All right, here we go. One of the oddly motivating things about the Apple Watch is the little badges you can earn. This week, Steve decided that we should try to earn the Thanksgiving Day badge that was for doing a 5K walk, a 5K run, or a 5K roll in a wheelchair. Now, for us on a normal day, we'd have to back off on our exercise to only go 3.1 miles, but Thanksgiving is a little bit problematic. First of all, we host Thanksgiving dinner for 12 people, and this year it was scheduled for early afternoon, which meant the turkey had to be on the barbecue by 7 a.m., so Steve had to get up at 6. We had our kids here too, including Forbes, so, we really wanted to play with them. Then Steve's parents got here at 11 a.m. We had more guests at noon. Our son-in-law Nolan's family came, and they always stay late in the evenings to play games, which is super fun. So when could we possibly fit in a 5K anything? Well, Steve announced that we were leaving our guests after dinner and going for a walk right before sunset. After Thanksgiving dinner. Think about it. After Thanksgiving. What a great idea. Anyway, we left the family outside on the back deck playing dominoes with a couple of bottles of wine, and I'm pretty sure they didn't care a bit that we left them. Now, when we first started, I tried to get Steve to walk really fast like I'm used to doing, but he suggested that was a bad idea on top of this huge meal. Pretty soon, I realized what he meant. I felt like Michael Scott in The Office. You remember that episode where he carbo-loaded with fettuccine Alfredo 5 minutes before the rabies fun run? That did not work out well for him. Anyway, when we got back to the house, we checked our workouts on our watches to compare notes. We burned within 1 calorie of each other, but for some reason, Steve got more distance than me by a fairly significant margin. Oh well, Apple Watch. Go figure. Anyway, he was really happy we did it until he looked at his watch and realized that it got stuck on saving the workout. In a minute or two, I got the Turkey Day badge on my iPhone, but Steve still didn't get the credit. Clearly, we knew the watch had recorded the workout and it was showing the steps and calories, but it didn't have that specific workout. And if you don't have the workout, you don't get the badge. He was really sad. He messed around turning Bluetooth on and off on the watch and on the phone to see if maybe they just weren't communicating, but there was no joy. He even rebooted both the phone and the watch, and there was no happiness to be had. And then I remembered Sandy's tip from last week on how to add a workout manually in the health app on the iPhone. We knew his calories because we had compared our two workouts, and we knew the distance, and I had on my watch the exact times we started and ended the workout, and those are the 3 pieces of information they ask for in adding a workout. He plugged in the numbers, he hit save on the iPhone, we held our breath, and the badge came into Steve's activity app on the iPhone. So I have to give a big thank you to Sandy for an awesome tip that made my husband very, very happy, and she saved Thanksgiving for us. Yay, Sandy!
Sandy was my hero.
Yep.
Ian and Rush have joined us.
Oh, hot dogs. How you doing, guys? We haven't seen you guys in a while.
I have to say, we've the audience doesn't know this, you're the Nosilla castaways, but we've started watching Frasier, the TV series from 20 years ago, from beginning to end. We're just watching an episode here and there, and I realize I feel a little like Roz.
You mean like when Frasier looks out there and she's paying no attention to him, and she's like reading a magazine? Is that what like? No,
that? Roz actually helps him out quite a bit. You have to admit.
Yeah, she does. But she also has been known to read magazines.
Yeah, she has. And well, I wouldn't read a magazine, but I might be reading something else.
Mm-hmm. It's really Alistair's credit. Oh, that's right. Oh, no. She just reminded me. It's not, she was, I've got to do an addendum.
Okay, hot tip or hot import. And don't forget an index after this.
I already did it because Kevin reminded me because you were too busy saying that you're Roz. All right.
Thanks, Kevin.
Okay, hang on. I gotta add this now. Wait. Good thing we do a live show. Sandy in the live audience just said, wait, it wasn't my tip. It was Alistair who told us how to do adding the workout. And she's just the one who wrote it up and got all the credit. So thank you very much to Alistair. You save Thanksgiving for Steve. There you go.
And Daniel joined us.
Daniel's here too. Hey, Daniel, what's up? All right. So I have the chapter marker in for, this is going to be Bart's tiny tip. And this is so awesome.
Oh, wait a minute. Is that a new
micro tip?
I didn't see that one before.
I know. I told you it was going to come in. And I added a link, but you don't need to read the link. It's just me doing a half-baked job of writing up what he said.
Okay.
This is really a micro tip. Nope, you're not a hero, Sandy. You're old news. No, you get credit for writing it up.
Yeah, she does.
Okay, let's hear how that blends up and got all the credit. So thank you very much to Alistair. You save Thanksgiving for Steve.
Hello there, fellow Nosilla castaways. This is Bart with...
Oh, wait, I need the tiny tip music.
Please.
Jeez. Neat. Tip. Put it right there. I love his audio being so good. Oh, no. That's not what I wanted to do. I don't know where this sounds right. Steve. Should he come in right in the middle of that like this, Steve?
Hello there, fellow Nosilla castaways.
Yes.
That blend is good?
That's good. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Hello there, fellow Nosilla castaways. This is Bart with a mini or micro or nano or pico or, well, some very, very small size of tip. So I came across this week in a blog post, a little one-line throwaway comment in a blog post And it's just so amazingly cool. I couldn't but share it because it solves a problem I've had for, well, years and years and years. And rather annoyingly, it turns out that unbeknownst to me, it's a problem that's been solved since the previous version of Mac OS. So this tip works for Mac OS Sierra as well as Mac OS High Sierra. So something a lot of people may want to do from time to time is to see hidden files in the Finder. And most of the time, those hidden files are hidden for a good reason. And you actually don't want the clutter on your screen of all of those hidden files. This is particularly true in your home folder if you're in any way a terminal geek, because the terminal apps tend to save their preferences into hidden files in your home directory in the standard Unixy, Linuxy way of things. Of course, your library folder is in there too, which Apple hides to stop you accidentally breaking things. So on the whole, life is usually easier 99% of the time with the hidden files hidden. But every now and then you have a genuinely really good reason to get at those hidden files. And that used to be clunky on Mac OS. So you could either use the Go menu and actually navigate into the hidden folder if you happen to know its path. So if you knew that you needed to go to your .ssh folder, you could, in the Finder, go to Go, choose Go To folder, and then type in /.ssh and hit Go, and that would take you into the hidden folder. So you'd never really see the folder in the Finder, but you could navigate into it and then look around inside, and that was kind of useful. Or if it was just a library folder you wanted, you could hold down the Option key while looking at the Go menu, and that will show the library folder. Or you could make the Finder show all hidden files through a dirty, clunky hack from the terminal. So basically, OS 10, as it was before it became Mac OS, had the ability for the Finder to show hidden files, but it was a hidden option, which meant that the only way you could turn that option on or off was using the defaults write terminal command. So you would say defaults write, blah, 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 blah. It was big, long, horrible string equals true. And you'd hit enter, and then nothing would happen until you did a kill all Finder and basically forced the Finder to restart. And then all hidden files would be visible, and it would remain so until you ran the defaults.write again, giving false as the value this time, and then kill all to the Finder again, which is awfully clunky and painful. Now, as I say, since macOS Sierra and also in macOS High Sierra, no need for any of that ever again. There is now a really simple key combination, and it's actually quite easy to remember if you're a Unixy Linuxy person and you know that naming a file with a leading dot or period makes it invisible or hidden. So the shortcut command is Command-Shift-Period or Command-Shift-Dot, and then you will see hidden files, and you hit the same Command-Shift-Period or Command-Shift-Dot, and they'll hide again. And so you can just toggle them as easily and as simply as that. Command-Shift-Period, Command-Shift-Dot, whatever way you want to call it. Such a cool feature, and I'm so happy to have finally discovered it. So that's my little micro tip for you this week. Talk to you again soon, and until then, happy computing.
Okay, here's the other trick. They gave me a fidget spinner. That's always fun. This funny little roll around thing. I don't know. Oh, I've been talking in the chat room in case people watching this later are looking at it. These are toys I got from the Parallels people. After I did the review on Parallels Desktop and the video I did, they just sent me a bag of fun stuff. This is one of my favorite things. Watch this little guy. I can't have it walk on the table, but I'll show you it dance. Whoops. Oh, it's hard to hold. He dances.
Are you going to tell people who that reminds you of?
Oh, my future daughter-in-law does a dance that she playfully calls the bathroom dance. When Kyle is getting in her way in the bathroom, she dances to get him to leave, and so it's called the bathroom dance. I don't know if she'd want me to have told that story, but I did. So, and for some reason they sent me a light too. It's pretty cool. It's got a little like a camping light, camping, and it's bright or it's medium. I think it flashes too if I'm in danger. All right. Well, that's important. So what should I be doing right now, guys?
Index.
Okay. It's time to do some real big work though. Now.
By the way, that blog post sure sounded a lot longer than it looked.
Which one?
The tiny tip from Bart.
Well, Bart didn't write anything up.
Oh,
So
you just put
I wrote
okay.
like 4 sentences. Remember when you're telling me to hurry up and get going? The live show was like in 3 minutes. I was writing it right then.
Got it.
All right. So now this one will be long enough. This is my iOS settings. That's not it. What did you just open? iOS settings. This one. Okay, here we go. Review. All right. Okay. Bye, Rush.
He's
He
gone.
left us ready, huh? Okay, here we go. Yep, because he stopped early. I seem to be falling into a pattern of obsessiveness of discovery. Who can forget the minute detail of when it actually, you know what? Shoot. That's not going to work. I need to move this out. And I'm going to record just a couple sentences here.
Happy computing.
I love this tip. There's so many times I want to see hidden files, but then it's such a pain to do that defaults right command that I don't get around to turning them off, and then they're in my way, and I really, really hate that. So this might be one of my favorite tiny tips. I mean, nothing can beat Alistair's tip about adding a workout, but this was still a fantastic nano micro pico tip. Thank you so much for sending that in, Bart. Okay. Now I can get the timing correct on here. We pick that and move that to there. There we go. All right. There we go. When is off? Actually, Steve, give him the link to the PNG, if you would. So the blog post you just tipped him to, go to the very end. That's the link that gets you to the pages. And then when you go to the page, hit the link, or copy the link to the giant PNG. I think it says incredibly or absurdly detailed view. That's the fun one to give them.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. I seem to be falling into a pattern. It's a pattern of obsessiveness of discovery. Who can forget the minute detail I went to in order to determine the size of the iPhone X screen? Or how about actually reading NIST Special Publication 800-63B in order to understand what the rules are about two-factor authentication and our banks? And then there's documenting every minute change in the different MacBook Pro models to help you decide which one to buy. Or when I mapped all of the specs of the different iPhone models Apple is selling. Well, I've done it again, and maybe worse than any of those. I decided to mind map all, and I mean all, of the settings in iOS 11. I did not understand the utter madness into which I was about to descend when I undertook this project. But utter madness it was indeed. What's the problem to be solved here? Well, personally, I find myself often digging around in settings, muttering to myself, where is that setting? Was it in Mail, iCloud, or was it in iCloud Mail? Where is it? Well, recently Apple added search to settings, but in my usage, it often doesn't find the setting I seek, even when I've typed in the exact name I later discovered through hunting around. I wanted to have a way to do a search that actually did search. I figured the menu structure would be awesome for laying out. I have to stop. Steve, you're making noise.
Oh.
This is a hard one, so I need silence here. I figured the menu section. I think I meant mind map structure. I don't think I meant menu structure. I figured using a mind map would be an awesome way to lay out the different options in iOS 11 settings. Well, I grabbed my trusty iThoughts mind mapping tool from toketaware.com. I like it because it's cross-platform with Mac, iOS, and Windows clients, and you can share maps between clients using Dropbox. It's a little bit of a weird setup the first time out of the gate, but once it's set up, the syncing is flawless. I started by trying to create the mind map in iThoughts on the iPad with settings in slide over. But sadly, Apple doesn't allow settings in slide over. As this thing played out, I needed a better keyboard for as much typing as I was going to do, so I opened settings on the 12.9-inch iPad Pro and used my MacBook Pro's much better keyboard to type into iThoughts. As I worked my way into settings, I thought it was going along pretty well. In the first hour, I'd finished everything up until I got to accessibility. And that's when I realized what I got myself into. In my final version of the mind map, there are 281 options or little menus you have to click through in accessibility alone. Think about that, 281. That's nuts. I thought I knew pretty much everything in that category, but man, was I wrong. There's so much more in there than I ever realized. I mentioned to Pat Dengler, who's knows this kind of thing, and she said, 281, that's more than there are bones in the human body. There's 206, by the way, according to Pat. Anyway, I started to notice a pattern in the maps, and it caused me to start also inserting some observations into the mind map. Most options, if their only purpose is to have an on-off switch, it will simply be the name with the on-off switch right next to it. For example, inside accessibility is the bold text option. It says bold text, and it has an on-off switch. But some options have another layer below them. The larger text option has a right-facing chevron alerting us to these options. Inside larger text, you'll find larger accessibility sizes and an on-off switch and an option for the size of the resulting dynamic type. That makes sense that you drill down an extra layer to get to the on-off switch because there's other things within that menu as well. But I started noticing that in some cases, they added the chevron when the next level deep was only the switch. For example, still inside accessibility, there's an option for reduce motion. It has the right-facing chevron, but when you drill a level deeper, it only has the on-off slider. That's a complete waste of time for the user, and it adds extra fields in a database somewhere. There's two possible reasons they did this. One is that they plan to add more functionality to those items later and now have a placeholder, or two, the programmer has made a judgment error. I noted these extra steps throughout the mind map whenever I found them. Perhaps it's a bit distracting for the viewer of my mind map, but I wanted to document it so I can go back later and write to apple.com/feedback and point this out to them. I also now have a way to obsessively check out every future version of iOS for the rest of time to see if they fix these and then take credit. Madness, you say? Anyway, I also put in a few editorial comments, not many, like I've always wondered why the heck changing your iOS wallpaper is a top-level menu. I mean, come on, how often do you actually change wallpaper versus other things that are buried way deep inside of settings? So there's a little snotty note on that one. When I was about halfway through making my mind map of doom, trademark Donald Burr, I realized that there might be more options in iPhone than there are on a non-cellular version of the iPad. At the very least, there's the cellular options themselves. After I'd gotten it all done in the iPad, I did a quick pass through on the... Okay, Steve, you've got to mute, please. I've been going like this, making motions.
I thought I had muted.
No. Okay, a lot of noises. At the very least, there's the cellular. That's why I was stuttering. I wonder if it's getting unclicked. Because I didn't hear you for a long time, so. Now you are muted. I can hear you talking through the hallway.
I did leave and come back. I don't know why it would have unmuted, though.
That's weird. Okay, here we go.
Muting.
The iPad. And there are a non. That's me stuttering. I realized that there might be more. Trademark Donald Burr. I realized that there might be more options in the iPhone than there are in a non-cellular version of the iPad. At the very least, there's the cellular options themselves. I did a quick pass through on the phone and I added cellular where I couldn't get myself to go through. What? Wow. It's not written very well. When I was about better cut there. When I was about halfway through making my mind map of doom, trademark Donald Burr, I realized that there might be more options in iPhone than there are in a non-cellular version of the iPad. At the very least, there's the cellular options themselves, right? Well, I did a quick pass through on the phone and I added cellular in some places, but I just couldn't get myself to go through every cellular option again on the iPhone, just on the off chance that I missed one. I trusted that you guys would be my quality assurance specialists and nitpick it to death for me. Well, after my original post of the mind map of doom on podfeed.com this week, I got an email from alert listener Raleigh who pointed out that the do not disturb while driving section was completely missing from my map. I realized, you know what, that's too big of a chunk to leave out, so I went back and I put it in. Then the madness dragged me back in, and I went through all of the top level sections, and I found, I don't know, like 30 sections that exist in iPhone settings that are not in iPad. Well, halfway through putting the iPhone sections in, I thought, hey, it sure would have been smart to mark them in some way, like only on iPhone at the end. Or maybe I could have made those bubbles a different color to show that they were different. But like I said, I was halfway through, and there's no way I had the energy to go near that vortex yet again. Anyway, I guess my advice to you is if you can't see a setting, or if there's a setting that I have and you can't see it, then just assume it's on the other platform. I still don't promise I've got them all, but I have got to stop playing with this. You have no idea how long this took. Well, let's see. My first estimate was about 6 hours, but I think I've probably gotten 7 or 8 by now. Watching the mind map grow, though, was very gratifying, and being able to open and close branches and see them spring to life with beautiful animation was an absolute joy to me. But then I wondered, how do I give it to you in a form that you can enjoy it along with me? Well, at first I thought it'd be fun to give you a simple visual to show you how nuts this map is. I printed from my thoughts to to a PDF and to a PNG. I did the high-res PNG was really the good one, and it's so awesome. You can't read anything on it when it's on a single page. For grins and giggles, I put a thumbnail of the image in the show notes, and you can click on it to see the whole thing in its grandeur with every branch expanded. It's actually pretty funny, but you can, if you click on it again once you get to it, you can actually see the full res version on the web. Sandy and a couple other people did complain that the Safari browser said they were running low on memory when they had this thing open. So that gives you an idea of how big this thing is. But beyond the comedy, I really wanted an online mind map that I could embed on podfeed.com where you could click on the branches and expand and collapse them for your own discovery. I wrote to Craig Scott, who's the awesome developer of iThoughts, and he got back to me immediately explaining that this is a highly requested feature, but in order to accommodate this, he'd have to rewrite about 75% of the code, and then he'd have to charge for the service. And in his experience, people don't want to pay for things anymore. He suggested I simply upload my mind map to biggerplate.com, which is a mind map sharing site, and that's actually a menu pick in iThoughts, so I might still do that. I think it's cool people do that, and I might put mine up there. But it only allows you to download the mind map, so it's kind of limited. I started looking at other export and sharing options within iThoughts. One option was to export for the web. That wasn't the worst option. That gives me an HTML page with the gigantic PNG file, and that was pretty fun too. Another useful option is to give you a downloadable OPML version that you can open with an outlining tool like Cloud Outliner, Tree, or OmniFocus. Is it OmniFocus? Somebody told me to fix that. Omni Outliner. I thought I fixed that. All right, remind me to upload this again. Omni Outliner. I swear I fixed that, but apparently not. All right, good. Thank you, Kevin, for the save. Another useful option is spare. I missed anything? Okay.
They changed the name of Barrow, Alaska to a word I cannot pronounce.
Oh, wow.
I think
That's handy.
it may be Inuit, the new name.
Huh. Okay.
Just like it's spelled. Thanks, Richard. Yes, okay, all right, we got one of those in the chat room.
That's awesome. Wait, where did the name go? Oh, I can't see it. Okay, mute. Another useful option is, or even more useful option, I should say, is to give you a downloadable OPML version. If I could do that, you can open with an outlining tool like Cloud Outliner or Tree or Omni Outliner. This is searchable and useful, but in looking at it that way, it's just kind of a giant list and it's not really as dramatic. Tree, which I'm pretty sure has been deprecated, unfortunately, has a cool view where instead of just indenting, it could expand it like a tree. So it does a slightly better job of showing off the wonder of the information I've compiled. iThoughts can also create an outline in Markdown format for the fanatics like Bart and Helma. It's really no more interesting, but it does look nice with headers for each big category and nice little indents. And of course, you can open it in an app like Byword. You could save it out from there to HTML as nature intended if you really want to do that. As I was working on this blog post, I sent Helma a link to the map, and darn it if she didn't find a typo. I'm sure it's one of many, many typos. But you realize that to fix the typo with what I've done so far, I have to re-expand and re-upload the OPML, the Markdown, and the HTML versions, and I'm not even done telling you everything I've done. Now, the mistake Helma found was a missing letter in a word, but like I said, what if one of you discovers I've forgotten an entire branch, like Raleigh did? Then I'd have to fix that. And what about when Apple changes something in settings? I can guarantee you I am not going to keep up with Apple on this. Now, remember, I really wanted to find an interactive method for you to view the original mind map. I kept poking around the internets, and I eventually found mindmup.com. This is a site where, for free, you could create mind maps and store them on Google Drive for easy collaboration. You're limited to 100 kilobytes on the free plan, so you can't create anything too elaborate like mine. If you bump up to mindmup Gold, you can import an existing mind map and you get 100 megabytes of storage for your maps. Now, I didn't see an extra 6 hours lying around in my schedule, nor did I find an ounce of enthusiasm for the idea of recreating my mind map from scratch, so I ponied up the $3 a month subscription just to try it out. If I decide to keep it, it drops to $25 a year if I pay up front. We'll see how much I love you guys to see if I want to keep this map, the interactive version, up online. You can upload a few formats to MindMup, and one of them is the free Mind format or .mm format. This is an open source version which most people use as the standard for handing mind maps around, I should say. Of course, iThoughts exports to free Mind format, so I uploaded my iOS 11 settings mind map to MindMup, and it worked perfectly. From MindMup, I can invite other gold class collaborators, but I can also publish the interactive version as well. So you can actually play with it, and this is really cool. MindMup uses Amazon S3, which is cool, but oddly, if I make a change, they say it can take up to 30 minutes to get to the server. Not sure why that is, but I definitely have noticed a lag after I make some changes. Now, you would think that after all that, you'd get to see the interactive mind map in the blog post I'm talking about, but instead I've created a page where I've embedded the insanity that is my iOS 11 settings mind map. And from there, you can get the MindNode version that actually Helma made for us. I've got the free Mind version. I've got the OPML version. I got a Markdown version. And you can download the iThoughts version as well. But it's also got this really cool interactive map from MindMup. I hope you enjoyed this insanity, and please don't find anything wrong with it after this. I just realized I want to go through and remove all these links in here, Steve, because they're linked all over the place in on the final page.
Okay. What do you want to change them to?
Well, I think I don't want to have this linked here too. I think I'm going to take out the links in this blog post.
Okay.
Because make them all go to the actual end condition there. So,
by the way, I just told Sandy it'd be okay to post her phone on our Google Plus and Facebook pages. I assume you're okay with that.
Sure, that's fine. Sandy's got street cred.
Yeah.
All right. So, did you give them a link to the?
I did.
To the giant mind map of doom.
I did.
All right. Do I have to do a chapter marker for Patreon and Amazon?
Yes. So people can skip it. No. No.
They will. No, maybe they'll want my link.
That's right. They will jump to that before they listen to your podcast. They will go right to that.
They probably will. Okay, here we go. Well, it's beginning to look an awful lot like the holiday season, if my neighborhood walks are any indication. On my most recent walk, I saw 4 big old TVs sitting on the curb, hoping someone would take them away. I don't know if the TVs were hoping they would be taken away, but at least their owners did. Anyway, there was an aging flat panel, a giant tube TV, an even gianter rear projection TV, and an actual wood console TV circa, 1970. I'm guessing a lot of Black Friday deals had been invoked that day. Anyway, if you're in the mood for a new TV, there's a link in the show notes to a bunch of new 4K TVs on Amazon. Remember, the links are affiliate links. By buying through those links, I may receive a commission for the sale, and this has no effect on the price for you. By the way, we just got a 4K HDR TV, and it's glorious. I'm just saying.
So I did notice a typo. Giantess?
Yeah, giantess. No,
Giantess.
that is not what I wrote. I wrote gianter.
Autocorrect. Well, gianter doesn't come up too often in normal speech.
I know, but I even watched it to see if it would try to fix my my words, because I knew it would have trouble with that. But thank you for reminding me, because I saw it.
And I shouldn't be editing this one, right?
Correct. Come on, what's wrong with even gianter? Okay, it is time for security bits music. Maybe I'll put in a chapter marker. What the hell is that? I mean, heck is that? What did it just do? Sorry about the swear there. I don't know how I just did whatever I just did. Marker 9. Security bits is a good one. The way I had a woman there's a woman who regularly, like more than once, goes on to iTunes to leave a review talking about how much she can't stand me, but only listens to listen to Bart, and she thinks I'm really mean to him.
As long as she listens.
Yeah, like, you know what? Maybe if we get these chapter markers working, I should just tell her, look, I put in chapter markers so you can skip when I'm talking. I think you can reply to comments now.
On iTunes?
I think you can. I know you can on, where's security bits? That's what I'm looking for. So sorry, that's why I'm not. Where is it? Oh, it's because I didn't rename it. I know you can, if you're a developer, you can on your, sorry, in the right place. Where am I going? Here, I want to go here.
On an app.
On apps, you can. I don't know if you can.
I hadn't heard you could do it with podcasts.
It'd be pretty fun. I think I'll do that. I'll tell her, hey, sorry you don't like me, but I've put in chapter markers so you can skip right to security bits, but I'm still on it. That would really embarrass her, wouldn't it? I think it's funny that she's gone out of her way to do it more than once.
Oh, she has? I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
Oh,
I can read it to you guys if you want. I think. I forget how much of this we listen to. I'm just saying. I don't know where to hit that.
That beat pattern seemed to change quickly.
Well, okay, I was trying to check the transition. 1 second.
Go ahead.
Bumped it. One more time. Well, it's that time of the week again. It's time for Security Bits with Bart Busschots. And I don't know why, but it feels like it's been forever.
Maybe it's just been a really busy time. You've had Thanksgiving, and actually, I didn't even get to tell you the week of hell I had caused by a swan of all things.
What? A swan?
We had a swan commit harikari by flying into an electrical cable and taking out the half of 2 counties, because apparently the electricity company were working on something, so there was no redundancy in the system because they were working on something. So they had intentionally taken down the redundancy. And that's the moment the swan decided to commit suicide by flying into high-tension cables. And so we went down, and we went down hard. You know those power cuts? The whole
university, you mean?
Oh, 2 counties.
Oh, jeez.
But you know those power cuts where the lights don't just... It's not that 1 minute they're on and then they're off. It's that they do this horrible darkening and brightening and darkening and brightening as this really dirty power going through. About 5 seconds of that, and then darkness.
So anything that wouldn't have fried in one pulse.
Oh yeah, yeah. But we're still finding fried switches and fried hard drives and yeah. Sensitive electrical equipment really doesn't like that kind of thing. And then Murphy was busy because we have a whole bunch of redundant systems, and they shouldn't all have failed together because that's the point of redundant systems, but they just did. It was just this comedy of errors, one thing on top of another. And so I just had days and days of, so for me, it feels like forever since Sonic Power cut.
Yeah, we did have that at work once. It was I think ours was a rat that chewed through a power cable.
It was a squirrel.
We had a generator, but it turned
Yeah.
out that they hadn't gotten around to checking the fuel lately.
This is so depressing, right? So we have obviously generator power, and the generator started. It very satisfyingly fired up just as it should, and all the lights stayed on. So it's like, oh, great. What didn't fire was the switch that's supposed to automatically flip the data center onto generator power.
Oh, no.
So 20 minutes later, the batteries on the UPS had their fill. And despite the fact that the generator was generating perfectly good electricity, downsy daisies.
Oh, jeez. Was it in the middle of the day this happened?
Yeah. Well, it happened at 10:30 in the morning. So,
okay. All right, I'm going to stop that and redo this review. Sandro Cuccia is her name.
When was this date? Is it recent?
Yeah. Re-review, still no better. Allison Sheridan continues to be abrasive towards her star guest host and the reason I tune in, Bart Busschots. What kind of behavior is this when she scolds and berates him? I'm surprised how Bart can take this abuse and bad behavior. Allison continues to be the #1 irritant on the podcast scene, and I imagine she's pretty proud of herself.
That's a great review. You're in a special community all by yourself.
I guess so. I am proud of myself. So if any of you guys in the live chat room there want to go do a review to counter this, I'll just drop the text in there so you can reread it if you weren't paying attention. The other thing, there's some guy, Raspberry and Arduino guy from United States, it says, and he's misspelled Arduino, and he writes stuff all the time on the blog, and it's almost like he's fake. But somehow he seems to be posting the same thing into iTunes. Yeah, I keep getting notices that he's written this same thing over and over again.
Could it be a bot?
Well, it's almost. Listen to this. As an Apple fan, I love this. It's not clickbait because the titles are an overview of the podcast. Some other podcasts are short and take a long time to get to the point. Not this one. Nice and long, but also you explain it a bit so it's not just Q&A basically. This is great. I absolutely love it. It's funny too. What I really like is that, yes, it's only very slightly Apple biased. You just talk about Apple. It's like you and Apple 51, or you like Apple 51% and Windows 50%. Okay, maybe a little less Windows. Also, how can I comment on a specific episode? I really want to be able to. Also, too, Mac stock is $169. It's $89 for only one day. Really? That's obviously not fake, right?
It's not a bot, but you're saying that's repeated several times?
Yeah, he wrote it on the 23rd of October. He wrote part of that on the 13th of October, but he wrote more then. And then he wrote it again in November, November 7th.
He just wants you to respond.
He kind of adds to it each time.
All right. He's refining his post.
Yeah, it's really bizarre. I should forward these to you. Anyway, I'm off topic.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
Brett noticed that they added 101%, but
yeah, I noticed that. Do I have to do a chapter marker to say goodbye or something?
To sign off. Yes.
What do you want me to put for that? That's silly.
Outro.
You just want me to have
hey, if you're going in, you got to go all in.
It's silly. Okay. Here we go. Outro. Who's going to jump to that? Oh, maybe they're going to jump there to see what it is I say at the end.
Yeah.
They can never remember.
Because sometimes you give acknowledgement to people who join the chat room for the first time or something weird that happened.
All right.
Like a flawless podcast.
There you go. All right, mute.
Matched and stay secure.
Well, that's going to wind us up for this week. Do not forget to send in your dumb questions, comments, and suggestions. You can do that by emailing me at allison@podfeed.com. And you can follow me on Twitter @podfeed. Now remember, everything good starts with podfeed.com. We've got podfeed.com/Patreon, where you can sign up to donate money once a week for every show that we do. We've got podfeed.com/Facebook. We've got a really active Facebook group. Lots of fun in there. If you'd like something a little quieter and more intellectual, I might suggest, you can go to podfeed.com/Google Plus and join the community there. Like I said, it's quieter, but it's a very nice community as well. And if you want to help the show, go to podfeed.com/Amazon and do your holiday shopping there. If you want to join in the fun of the live show, head on over to podfeed.com/live on Sunday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific time and join the friendly and enthusiastic NosillaCast castaways. Thanks for listening and stay subscribed. I'm not making a chapter for the outro music, okay?
All right. Okay, George doesn't know what MacStock is.
Oh, okay. MacStock is an awesome conference in Chicago every year. It's been 3 years now. We missed the middle one because of silly Forbes deciding to be born.
What was he thinking?
I know. It's just ridiculous. But it's super fun. It's 2 days long, and Ian and Daniel have both been before. Dorothy hasn't come yet. I don't know why. Sandy hasn't come yet. Kevin hasn't come yet. I don't know what's wrong with these people. But anyway, it's just a little 2-day conference in Woodstock, Illinois. And it's just absolutely delightful. It's run by great people, and all kinds of cool people
you
speak.
Actually say their names.
Who?
The people who run it.
Okay.
Mike Potter.
Mike Potter and
Barry Folk.
Barry throws a little party for everybody. It's super fun.
Yeah. You should come, George.
Totally, you should come. I could meet you in person. I would love to meet you in person, George. I would love to have everybody there. Thanks for listening and stay subscribed. Okay, there we go. It is so much fun. Wait, Ian says I didn't know it was there. Ian, you were there.
Wait, what did you say is the location?
I said Woodstock, Illinois.
Is it in Woodstock?
It's in Woodstock. That's why it's called MacStock.
All right.
You were actually there, Ian. Okay, that's pretty funny. All right, I think we are done. It is 6:02. We should probably let the class go. You want to say goodbye, Steve?
Good night, Gracie.
All right, I'm making him say goodnight first because I noticed that the keyframe is always him because he always manages to make a comment right at the last minute. But I'm going to say goodbye. Goodbye, Rose. Goodbye. No talking, Steve.